This week was supposed to be a deep dive into new software. Instead, it turned into a masterclass of what happens when nothing goes to plan. From software that was far less intuitive than I initially thought it should be, to the Pennsylvania cold causing me sniffles while I'm trying to record outside. My perfect video ideas fell apart one by one. But in the middle of that frustration, I got a much needed reminder. The realization that these failed shoots are actually where real growth happens. Today I'm taking you through a weekend of setbacks and showing you why the worst days behind the camera are often the ones that teach you the most. So my initial plan for this week's video was to run through the software Darktable, which is a replacement for Lightroom, and I was going to evaluate that software to see if it would work for me. And boy, did I run into some struggles with that. After downloading it, I couldn't get the software to install. Come to find out, it had digital signatures that weren't quite set up properly, so I had to bypass that. So after I got the software installed, I went to run it and I was stumped. It was nothing like I expected. I've been in IT for 35 years and I'm very experienced with software and using new software. And I've been using Lightroom for 12 years. And when I installed Darktable, I expected to be able to quickly figure it out on camera. So I hit record on the camera and I was very surprised that it was not an intuitive piece of software. And I sat there in front of the camera struggling, and I gave up on it. I didn't know what to do next. So contemplating over what I was going to do for my next video, I turned my thoughts to the storm that was coming through, and I decided, you know what, I'll just go out and I'll do a video about how changing your shutter speed can affect the snowfall when you're taking an image. So I went through, recorded the video, and while recording it, it was very cold, probably 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Not sure what that is in Celsius. I'll put it up on screen here. But yeah, it was very cold, and I started sniffling, and when I edited the video, I saw how much I was sniffling my nose, and at first I tried to just adjust the audio so you couldn't hear it, but it was pretty bad. So then I had to scrap that idea. So I was sitting there on my third day of my 3-day weekend with 2 failed videos, and I had nothing to go off of for a video for this week. I knew I had some projects I had to get done around the house, so I started working on those. Redoing the countertops, and I pulled out the hood over my stove, over my range, prepping to replace that. So I did some of that work. And then I remembered that line from Epictetus, the philosopher, who said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." I realized at this point that my reaction was just to shut down because nothing was going to plan. So it was at this point that I decided to change my reaction, grab my camera, go out back and see what I could make of it. I didn't go out with any expectations that I'd get an award-winning photo or a photo that's even portfolio worthy. But I just grabbed my camera and went out with the idea of moving forward. As I did that, I realized that my previous failures at my attempts of creating a video, they weren't a failure. The struggle with the software, the freezing cold, the pivoting, that was the story. The failures of my original idea wasn't a waste of time. It was actually the story I needed to tell. They became the basis of this video here. I realized that the challenge itself was the most important thing I could share with you this week. So I went out onto my property and I took some various pictures. While I didn't get anything super great, I did learn a few things. So let's go through those images I got, and I'll walk through them and we'll discuss what I learned. These first few images were actually just in my backyard next to my house. I just hunkered down in the snow out in the open to see if any birds would present themselves in an open area that would make a decent photo. Now when I first came out, with all the snow, I wanted to use auto exposure, so I put the camera in manual mode. The histogram was kind of low because of all the snow, so I did +1 to my exposure compensation. Well, I quickly found out that Shooting the birds under the trees and under the bushes, there wasn't much snow, so the exposure compensation overexposed these images just a little bit. After those first few bird shots around my house, I walked out into the back 9 to see what I could find. The light was getting decent as the sun was descending. There's a hill off the back of my property, so sunset on the back comes pretty early, about an hour before actual sunset. I tried a few shots of the snow here on the ground coming down through the woods, and it looked pretty good. I knew I wouldn't get a good composition here. The Pennsylvania woods are fairly difficult to get a good composition in. While I was out here, I did hear a woodpecker in a tree. He was a little ways away, but I managed to snag this shot. I'm pretty pleased with this shot because this is the first shot I've gotten of a woodpecker with the sun behind him. While this isn't the greatest shot, it was a good experience. And I did potentially learn where a pileated woodpecker may be living. So in summary, I just want to remind you of something that we have all heard in life before, and that is, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. We see the portfolio shots on Instagram and other places, and we often forget all the cold, the sniffling noses, the technical glitches, and even the times where people just stayed home. If you're struggling with failure right now, whether it's with a blurry photo or something more important or more personal in your life, just remember, you get to determine the final outcome. If you learn just a single thing from your experience, it wasn't a waste of time. Every time you do something and you feel like you failed, all that is an opportunity to reflect back on what you did and think about what you could have done better. Every potential failure is merely a chance for improvement. It's an opportunity. Everyone meets with failures every single day. Nobody's perfect, and the best thing you can do is learn from it. Move forward. So just remember the truth.
What truth?
There is no failure.